watch
How?
this?
How?
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 Ew,
How do you watch this?
Dude, I'm gonna pee my pants.
Hello, you're listening to How Do You Watch This, a movie review podcast where each week we give each other a movie to watch in the genre we love, but they don't. My name is Demi, and I love horror.
My name is Megan, and I love romance.
And this week, I had Megan watch her first M. Night film, The Village.
The Village, which I was really interested because I popped on. I had like a quick thing I wanted to look up afterwards after I watched it, and people were like, this was the beginning of the downfall. And I was like, oh, okay. Interesting.
I feel like that's kind of fair. I think it's also his most, a lot of people say it's his most misunderstood, but I definitely have opinions, especially after watching it so many years. Like, I don't remember the last time I've seen it. I think I've only seen it like twice before.
Right.
So it's been a long time. But.
Yeah, and I'm sure it watches different today than it did back in 2004 when it came out.
Yeah, there were things I just didn't remember. And I'm like, did I just like black it out? Or I just didn't pay attention? Yeah, I forgot the main character was blind. Plot point. I forgot she was blind.
Yeah, it kind of is a big deal. Although, to be honest, like at first she really doesn't give off blind vibes. It was
She really doesn't.
No, like
I was like, is she just like a little blind? You know, like she's like needs glasses or something.
Yeah, because she was not like staring into the middle distance. She was like towards the end, like halfway through the movie, she started doing more fun,
more
blind attributes. But there's a few areas where there's like a problematic portrayals of disabilities, but we'll talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that going in. I'm like,
yeah.
I mean,
this is a very star-studded cast, so I want to say their names before I get started. So we've got Sigourney Weaver right off the bat.
Yeah.
William Hurt, which he's one of the main elders, which who we'll talk about, Walker, but I don't really know if I know him from anything. Do you?
I didn't recognize his face. I know him and another elder are like known, but I just like haven't seen him and stuff.
He was in Black Widow, but I don't remember.
Okay.
At all. And I guess he's the Secretary Ross or Secretary of something in various Avenger movies, but
okay.
I'm not playing a big role, you know?
Yeah.
We've got Joaquin Phoenix. Bryce Dallas Howard. She is the blind girl who was also you might know her from Jurassic World,
Black Mirror,
The Mandalorian as well. We have Adrian Brody. And then there are a couple of other actors who you would probably recognize. Like Jesse Eisenberg is in it. Celia Weston.
Small role.
Yes, he played it was definitely like beginning roles for him because I immediately was like, wait, is that
I was like, hey,
hold on
I know that guy. What you doing here?
Judy Greer of 13 Going on 30 fame.
Yeah.
You know, a couple of other of those. So I just wanted to give them all their shout outs since they're big names and you would recognize it.
Yeah.
All right. So our movie opens on a burial site where a father cries over the grave of his 7-year-old boy. Some weirdly shaky camera work, which isn't repeated again for the rest of the movie, happens at this point. I thought that was going to be like, oh, this is like, it's being like a little found footage. But no, it just was this one moment of like somebody
there were some weird camera things. I did look more into the director and I read that he would try to use like his original camcorder that he received when he was like young, that first got him into movies for some scenes.
Okay.
So I wonder if like that was one, because I was like, what? Like, what is happening here? There's some like weird cuts, weird filming. So.
Yeah, because it was not good quality and it was like super it was very strange. Okay, that makes sense. So we get taken through the small town, and at first glance I wrote down that this looks like my ideal life because It's just like a
It's your
community.
it's your community.
It's my community. They grow their own food. They eat dinner
Right.
together. There's
Yeah.
so much nature. I was like, this is amazing. Oh my God. Unfortunately, the girls did appear to be wearing corsets, which we will be talking more about later.
Yeah.
There are some, so it's giving pilgrim vibes. It's looking
Right.
like it's 1700s, 1800s.
Yeah.
Maybe not 1700s, 1800s, small town.
1800s.
Yeah,
Yeah. Amishy.
exactly. And pretty quickly, there are some oddities that are piquing the viewer's interest. So strange noises are coming from the forest that alarm the villagers, the younger villagers especially. There are girls who are playing outside and they see a red flower, rip it out of the ground and bury it. The introductory montage ends on a scene where school children are circled around a skinned dead baby animal. Mr. Walker, the town's unofficial head, talks to the children about why this is not evidence of, quote, those we do not speak of, end quote. So essentially, there is a forbidden forest around the town in which there are creatures that live who they do not speak of, where apparently the creatures used to attack the town, but they came to a truce and have not attacked since. So Mr. Walker is telling the children, this is not evidence that those who do not speak of have broken the truce. This is just some other animal, probably a coyote or something. One of our main characters, Lucius Hunt, makes a sign of bravery by standing before the town elders and requesting to walk through the forbidden woods to get new medicines that will hopefully prevent death and disease, such as we witnessed at the start of the movie with that little boy. He signs his letter at the end, which I thought was really cute. He just has this this sweetness to him. He has to read what he wrote. He's very shy and soft-spoken. Speaking of Lucius, the elders said no because they're like, whatever. Fuck everyone. We're not getting medicine.
Right.
We're not going to the towns. He wants to basically go through the woods to the towns that are out there that no one but the elders have been to.
Right. Supposedly shitty, evil.
Yes. Yeah. So Mr. Walker's eldest daughter is in love with Lucius, although they've never really spoken about their feelings before. She's very over the top with it, where she's just madly in love, wants to get married to him. And Mr. Walker's like, have you talked to it? Like, why is he not talking to me? And she's like, no, we haven't talked about it yet. He's like, all right, well, before you tell anyone that you're in love with him, go tell him that you're in love with him. Yeah. So she admits her feelings to Lucius. He does not return the sentiment, and she is distraught. And her younger sister, Ivy, soothes her as she cries. The next day, Ivy is playing with Noah, and Noah is another main character who appears to have some sort of mental disability. And none of that is really gone into deeply, which makes sense because they wouldn't have had at this time period that the movie is representing, there isn't the articulation of what's going on with him. But essentially, he is this more innocent character. He is playful. He doesn't really understand when he's hurting someone, how that can negatively impact it. And so the town all really loves Noah and takes care of him. And Ivy is supposed to punish Noah for having hit some of the younger boys with sticks in a game. But instead, she has a foot race with him and they run to this resting rock. And she's mostly blind, almost entirely blind, but manages to run fully. And I'm sure that's, she's got
I guess she just
groundwork memorized at this point. Yeah. She knows, she has counted. We've seen evidence throughout the movie of her counting her steps. She knows how long it takes to get from one place to another. So Ivy essentially runs into Lucius at the resting rock. And she's like, I know that you didn't want to be with my sister because you have a crush on me.
Right, I was like, oh, okay, shit.
She is a ballsy. I love that for her. She was giving me vibes.
Just say you love me.
Yeah, just admit it. Like, I know.
Hello.
So she also says, And this has not really gone very deeply into, but she's blind, but certain people have a color, like an aura, essentially, that she can see. So she says that he has a color that she can see, Lucius, and her dad has a color she can see, but like no one else really does. And at this point, Noah gives Ivy some berries that are red, and all of a sudden Lucius is like, that's the bad color. So apparently red attracts those who we do not speak of. So we find out that Noah has been sneaking into the woods to get those berries, and that is betraying the truce. And this gives Lucius the idea that because Noah has been able to make it into the woods, his innocence and the purity of his heart has shown the creatures that he is no threat to them. And so if Lucius, who has only pure intention, was to go through the woods, he would be safe. So he tries to, again, articulate this, but the elders still are like, you're not going through the woods. There is this strange element that I, again, would like to talk about later, which is there's these weird boxes. In each of the elders' houses, they have a strange black box, and it's supposed to be like remnants of their past, so they don't forget their past, but they don't like let that whole change their future or whatever. But none of the kids or anything are allowed to see into the boxes. And we'll talk about that later. I just felt it was anticlimactic. Lucius also tells his mom, Sigourney Weaver, that Mr. Walker has feelings for her. And so this is an interesting dynamic that we see now a little bit more, because Mr. Walker does have a wife. He's married, but he has like a little crushy crush on Sigourney Weaver, whose name I think is Alice. But that's kind of played out a little bit as we move forward. There's a lot of like the safe color is yellow. So it's like this like, mustardy yellow that they wear. So you see them all in yellow cloaks, things like that. And I was trying to figure out at this point what the situation was. So I was like, oh, I bet the town elders used to be part of the others and separated and created their own, like they left that situation. So that was what, and I'm calling them the others because that was like the name of the other movie we watched. But while refreshing the yellow posts with yellow paint, Lucius decides he's going to sneak into the woods and grab some red berries and see what happens, because he's going to fuck around and find out. So he believes that because he's pure of heart, everything's going to be fine. He goes into the woods, grab those, but something moves in the woods and sees him. Kitty, Mr. Walker's eldest daughter, the one in love with Lucius, is now going to marry someone named Kristoff. And so
she moved on quick.
Yeah, she was like, no problem. And so Ivy is essentially like, yo, Lucius, the door's open. Now that my sister is getting married, we're good to go. So the next scene that happens after this is a creature in a red cloak. So one of the other creatures is seen walking in town. The bell goes off. Everyone goes and runs and hides in the cellars. And Lucius is walking around the town, just really fearless. And Ivy is freaking out because she wants him to come inside and be safe. And so she holds her hand out of the door, and he eventually takes her hand and they go into the cellar together. And all the doors are being marked with red slashes by the others. And so it's considered a warning. And Lucius is like, yeah, it was me. It's my fault. He wrote a letter and an ode up to it, which is honestly very ballsy, because I would have been like,
I don't know who did that.
Ooh, that's so weird.
So crazy.
Strange. And Mr. Walker was like, it's not a problem. It's fine. Like, no big deal. Yeah. So then it's the wedding day for Kitty and Kristoff, and they're having a wedding feast. They're dancing, having a good time. They sacrifice a big pig's leg to the others. And suddenly distant screaming sounds are heard. And little boys run up and tell Mr. Walker about dead animals, or about seeing an other in the village, and there being dead animals scattered around. So we see that the elders are talking to each other. Mr. Walker and Mrs. Hunt, or whatever, they're, Sigourney Weaver, they're chatting about how this can't be a coyote. This is very strange. What's going on? Then we have my favorite scene, my most memorable scene of the whole movie. And this is where Lucius is sitting on Ivy's front porch and she sees him through the window because she can see his color. And so she goes outside to see him and is basically like questioning him as to why he's there and teasing him. And she's like, when we're married, will you dance with me? Which I was like, girl.
I
And
know.
then there's this amazing romance speech, which I am going
I
to
know.
read in part.
I
Not me.
forgot about the romance. I was like, ooh,
Dude, I
Megan
was
will like this.
sweating. I was like, at this point, I was like, this might be a 5-star movie. So this is part of the speech that Lucius gives. I have to read it because it's just so good.
It's good.
All right. Everyone is forever plaguing me to speak further. Why? What good is it to tell you? You are in my every thought from the time I wake. What good can come from my saying? I sometimes cannot think clearly or do my work properly. What gain can rise from my telling you the only time I feel fear as others do is when I think of you in harm? That is why I'm on this porch, Ivy Walker. I fear for your safety before all others. And yes, I will dance with you on our wedding night. And I was like,
So, oh my God. I'm like, oh,
I
my
loved it.
goodness.
The delivery
It was so good.
It was so good. Joaquin Phoenix is an amazing job with that speech. And I was like in love with him at that point. I was like, yeah.
I was like,
that
I
was
see it. I see the
incredible.
vision.
Yes, exactly.
Those puppy eyes.
Oh my goodness. And then they share a kiss and it's really cute.
So cute.
Loved it. So the camera pans away, which is rude because we like barely got to enjoy that moment.
Need more romance, please.
Yes, honestly. So of course, it's a small town and people find out. They found out early in the morning that Ivy and Lucius are going to get married. People are talking about it. The elders are questioning people, but, you know, trying to figure out what happened the night before. But that's kind of like part of the gossip going around.
Yeah.
So Noah comes to Lucius and he's crying. And this is my deleted scene.
So upsetting.
Actually, yeah, no, this is, I don't know. There's 2 possible deleted scenes.
Yeah. I know exactly
Yes.
which 2 scenes because
yeah. So I think I'm gonna honestly have it be both of those scenes. I'm gonna have
I think it's fair.
one of 2 deleted scenes. My first time having a double deleted. But essentially this is one of my deleted scenes. So Noah comes to Lucius crying and Lucius tries to explain that there's like different types of love. He knows that, you know, Noah was really close with Ivy and he's being understanding and sweet, and he turns around and looks down and Noah had stabbed him. And then Noah stabs him again in the chest. And then Noah shows up on his parents' rocking chair and he has the red on his hands and he's like, it's the bad color, and he's crying and he clearly feels bad. He doesn't really like have a concept of what he did. We're going to talk about this a lot later. I have the Noah storyline I have a lot of issues with.
Yeah.
It's
you
tricky.
know,
it's tricky, and
like,
so
yeah, it's very, and Noah's storyline is very just like upsetting, I think. In a lot of ways.
Yeah. So we'll break into it once we get to the end of the snapshot. So Ivy finds Lucius and she says she can't see his color anymore, and she wants to go to the town to get medicine for him because apparently he's not dead. He has miraculously is okay. Yeah, but he has an infection setting in, and so in order for that infection to heal, he would need medicine, which they don't have. So we learn that there's an oath where the elders claimed that they wouldn't go back to the town, but that oath does not carry through to the younger generation. So the Walkers, Mrs. Walker and Mr. Walker, decide that they're going to let Ivy go. So Mr. Walker brings Ivy to this shed and he's like, try not to scream, which is such a dramatic concept. And I was like, oh my God, are the others in there? Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
So essentially he opens the shed, and in the shed are costumes of the others. So we learn that the elders have fictionalized the others and created those characters to instill fear in the younger generation so they wouldn't leave the town, so that they would not stray from the village and they wouldn't go to the town. Because they're not real, the dad's like, Ivy, you're going to go through the woods and I'm going to give you 2 escorts. And those escorts are going to take you through. They're going to take you to a walkway. At that point, you're going to go alone into the towns and get the medicine. But she's with a bunch of babies, apparently. Kristoff, her brother-in-law, and Finton. And Kristoff pretty much immediately is like, I can't go. I can't. I'm too scared. And turns around.
It's like literally a blind woman.
Right. And
He's
then
supposed to be escorting her. It's like,
yes.
dude.
And then Finton's like, my tummy hurts. I have to go back. Bro. And he's like, they're not gonna hurt you.
Yeah.
Because you're blind and you're not a threat. Dude, yeah, she's blind in the woods. This is what I struggled with a lot too, is the fact that she's blind going through the woods. How does she know where she could have easily died in there?
Yeah, because it's, you know, like she has her little stick, but it's like, how do you know you're really going straight? You know,
Exactly.
Like
You could have been going, and at one point she does go in a circle. So
right,
and we'll get to that in a second. A couple of other theories I had about the elders. Maybe they were exiled from the towns. Maybe they were murderers. And the reason I said maybe they were murderers is because all of the elders have this tragic backstory. They're all like, my sister was murdered. My father, like Mr. Walker, like his dad was shot in the head. And there's all these really sad stories about the towns. So either the towns are chaos or something else is afoot. Freaking Ivy's in the rain by herself in the woods where she can't see anything. She is walking through the woods alone and falls into a pit and manages to climb out. Lucky. Her cane breaks and she ends up hearing like echoes of what is going on. And she is surrounded by red berries at this point. And you have like the echoes of what the father said, which is that the others, like those who we do not speak of, there were rumors of those creatures back when the village began, but they were never actually seen. So even though Ivy knows that the others were fictionalized representations created by the elders, there is still a fear. First of all, you're in the woods that you have no recollection of, you have no knowledge of. You're in complete darkness because you're blind. And there are stories of creatures. So there's still fear there for her. And a creature in a red robe does show up. And so there's kind of this wondering as a viewer of, are there actually creatures that are real, or is an elder coming after her? Because the elders were upset that she was allowed to go.
Yeah. So
she's very clever, and she doesn't know who or what is chasing her. She just knows that she's being chased. And because she fell in that pit, she ends up accidentally running back around to that pit and fakes out the creature so that it falls into the pit. And this is when we realize that the creature was actually Noah. So Noah had found one of the costumes that had been hidden under the floorboards of the room that he gets sent into when he's being punished. And he had been the one who was responsible for all the animal deaths and everything. So Noah is the creature in the pit, and he dies falling into it. Ivy ends up finding the pathway. There's a hedgerow. She climbs it, and a man drives up in a car. Oh my God, what? It's a car.
What?
And it's a Walker Wildlife Reserve security. So that's your first hint that Walker isn't even the main guy's last name. Or if it is, there's something else going on there. And so this young guy who's the security guard runs into Ivy, and she asks him to get medicine. His name is Kevin. Kevin goes,
Kevin.
He ends up getting the supplies for her because he's a nice guy. Ivy returns to the town and gives the medicine for Lucius. We realize that Noah's dead. And as an aside, the Walkers did end up opening their little black box, and we learned that the reason why they all have tragic backstories is because they all had met at a counseling center. So they all had been going to counseling for their traumatic backstories and had decided to start a village away from the chaos of town so that they could try something new, do something different. And that's the movie. So the movie ends essentially with Lucius, Ivy talking to Lucius and being like, I'm here.
Yeah. So the one thing I'll point out with the Walker name, if you remember, the father brings up the grandfather and how he was wealthy and greedy.
Yes.
So their family has money, and Walker was the one that started the idea of the society. So he seemingly paid for security and sanctuary, so that no one would bother them. So that's why seeing the Walker name, it's like, okay, like that's the connection.
Oh, that makes sense, because they did say that like they had the planes or whatever airport wasn't allowed to fly over the town. So that makes sense. I just thought it was an animal sanctuary, which was interesting because we didn't see very many animals in the whole movie.
I think it's just a front, just to keep people out.
Okay, that makes sense. And the other scene that I thought maybe should be deleted was, of course, Noah dying.
I know. It was tough. I was like,
yeah, exactly. Let me go through my things because I didn't give all of them. I would say that first of all, we did say that the director was M. Night Shyamalan. The genre, I would say, is it's like a psychological drama, I think, more than it.
Like
maybe there's some
drama thriller, maybe
mystery. Yeah. The title we went over: year release, most memorable scene, main character, smash or pass. I would say that's probably Ivy. Would be the main character, smash. Assuming she's of age. Excuse me. Let me just make sure.
I think so.
Yeah, we're just gonna assume she's above the age.
Ivy is a babe. She is strong-willed and she's fun.
Yeah. Let me see. Bryce Dallas Howard is born in 1981, so she would have been 23 at the time. Okay, yeah, that's appropriate. All right.
We're good.
We're in the clear. All right. So main villain, I don't really know what you would articulate that as being. You could say it's Noah in the creature suit. You could say it's the elders. But regardless, I'm going to go with pass. So I just think that like, even if it was the collective elders or whatever, I don't think that it was appropriate.
A little too old.
Yeah, I think that I would have a survival rating of 10 because I would have been living my best life, and I probably would have been like, I'm never leaving.
Absolutely.
This town.
The only thing I'd be worried about is making food and finding a husband. And
exactly.
You know what?
Yeah,
that's fine with me.
I would have been.
Lucius would have been my number one, though.
Yeah, for real. I would have been Kitty in this situation, probably. Like,
just devastated.
Yeah. And I would recommend to a non-horror fan.
Okay.
Because I don't think it was like super scary. I think it was good. Yeah. I'll wait to save my final rating, but I did waffle a lot. Like, this one was hard for me with the rating because there are so many things, and I want to talk about those things before we talk about the final number. So first of all, let's keep it light. The corsets, you've created your own society. Why in that society would you wear corsets? I get that for the purpose of the movie, they're trying to convince you that this is old-timey. However, if it was me and I started my own society.
Yeah, well, Walker was a history professor and he's a man. So for him, he's probably like, to make this as authentic as possible, here is what they were, here's what they did. And I guess no one questioned it.
Yeah.
As a woman, I would have been like,
nah,
maybe let's not do the corsets. But I guess they were just like, fuck it. If he's paying for everything and doing this for us, like, I'll play along. It's like role play.
Yeah. I don't get why. All right, if he is the proprietor of all this, and like, I guess that makes sense why he is the head guy that everyone goes to and whatnot.
Yeah.
If that's the case, why wouldn't you have things in place? for stuff like medicine. Like,
I don't know. I guess they want it to be as authentic as possible, but it's like there are some things like you're still using money, like to pay for that. So it's like you couldn't have medicine around. It just like for me, there's definitely plot holes. Like I said, I do like the movie to an extent. I think the story is pretty cool. I like the actors. And I think the twist is pretty good. A lot of people hated the twist.
Really?
And yeah, they were just like disappointed with it, but I was like, and it's also very similar to a book. So I'll bring that up later. But the biggest plot twist comes with the dad and the reasoning for like no medicine. And also like I get that they made an oath.
Yeah.
But I feel like you could have just gone. Like the dad could have just gone and been like, hey, medicine. Like you're rich enough.
I assumed that the reason why they didn't want to break the oath was because my theory was they all just like disappeared off the face of the earth, and then it would be like now they have to reintegrate into society, and it'd be kind of like like
that's fair.
It would ruin the integrity of whatever it was that they were doing. But at the same time, like if you have kids who are dying or whatever, like
right, because earlier in the movie the little boy died, and it's like I as an elder I feel like I would just feel guilty knowing that there are medicines that could save our children, and we're just not doing anything about it.
Right.
I don't know, maybe they just didn't think that far ahead. But another thing too I didn't like in the movie is that Ivy knows that the monsters are fake before she goes out.
Yes.
I feel like they could have not said that because she's blind.
Right.
She doesn't know. And also, like, her dad could have been like, all right, just don't attack. Like, don't attack or anything. It's not like they're going to kill her. Like, they're all people in costumes. So it's like, just let her go, get the medicine. She doesn't fucking know. She's not going to see anything. She'll come back and it's fine. And I get that they, like, are using the monsters to keep people out. But then the whole innocence thing comes into play. It's like, oh, she's blind. She has some sort of disability.
Yeah.
So maybe the monsters, like, feel bad for her.
Yeah. I think that would have probably been a better way of doing it, too, especially with the fact that Noah died.
Yeah, because then you see the monster, and in your head, at least for me, it's like, that's just someone in a costume.
Right.
I guess you can guess, like, oh, is there maybe a monster?
Right.
But because the costume was the same, I'm like, I guess it's just someone chasing her.
Yeah.
So I feel like it would have been better if she didn't know, and then she encounters someone that actually chases her.
Yeah.
And then you find out, oh, it's Noah, and then it all unravels.
Yeah.
So that's like my biggest thing. I just feel like, because then another thing too, I was thinking, okay, maybe the dad just feels bad. Like Ivy's in love, and now she's gonna have that taken away from her. So he's like, I'm gonna do. She's my daughter.
Yeah.
Plus, he makes the point that like once they're gone, who's gonna be doing this shit? Like it's gonna be Ivy and Lucius.
Yeah.
But Lucius is very headstrong and wants to get out.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's to say that once he's fine, he's not gonna be like trying again unless Ivy's like, hey, here's the rules. It's fake. Don't go out.
Which I feel like is what's gonna have to happen, because apparently they're like the future of the society.
Right.
For whatever reason, I guess because of their like willpower or whatever.
She's not even like the oldest daughter, but he just told his other daughter.
Yeah, he's like, this one's a little weird.
She's not all there.
I think that it's interesting that the dad wouldn't have escorted her through the woods, because he's not leaving.
Yeah, you get to a certain point and then she continues on.
Right. She would get to the pathway, and then at least making sure your daughter makes it through the woods alive. I don't.
She's fucking blind. Like,
no, I don't.
She could have, like you said, she could have easily died out there, just alone. And
if she fell in that pit, she would have been dead, and then her and Lucius would have been dead.
Right. And then who's gonna be leading your town?
Right. Exactly.
The dummies.
People who believe that these monsters are real.
Jesse Eisenberg and God knows who else.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the Noah situation, because I mean, we already talked a little bit about Ivy and like the representation of her blindness and how it wasn't like the most accurate or realistic depiction. But I think that it's just very problematic for me. I really struggled with, and I'm sure that that's the reason. The reason why he had it be someone who was not like fully cognizant is that you're not able to get angry at the quote unquote villain or the
Right.
situation because he's not doing things on purpose. He's not trying to kill someone. He
Yeah.
wasn't trying to cause harm, but he just doesn't know any better. And
Yeah.
so I don't know how they could have done that better in having that same concept without it
Yeah.
changing completely, but I just
And I
really struggle with that.
Yeah, and I think it plays too with the idea that the elders wanted to create a community built on hope and
Mhm.
innocence. And I think Noah is like the most innocent, or
Mm.
is shown to be the most innocent, yet he commits this crime. So
Yeah.
they can't escape it.
Yeah.
It happens sometimes. So I think that's like another thing that plays too, where the most innocent person there
Yeah.
is, commits a murder,
Yeah.
which is what they were escaping from.
Yes. And I think that definitely makes sense. And I can understand that.
Yeah.
I get it, but at the same time, that is where I was waffling like half a point, where I was like back and forth
Yeah.
between what my rating of the movie would be. And in the end, I decided that I just couldn't fully get on board with it. I understand it. It's just that's a struggle
Yeah.
point for me.
It's a tricky conversation.
Yeah.
But
It's tough, and it's like the representation of it is challenging, and it's
yeah.
to what it that's not really your the normal experience with people who have those sorts of disabilities, and
Yeah.
they have one person with that cognizant challenge going in their town, and that one is the
Yeah.
one who happens to commit a murder. That
Right.
part, it's hard for me.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Yeah. I think I don't know if they just well, that's the thing. The elders, it's not like they were fucking born in 1800.
No.
Like they lived in modern times.
Yes.
So, and yeah, I don't think there was a lot
Yeah.
of support and knowledge of people with disabilities at that time. But
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know if they just kind of let Noah do whatever because they were like, well, he has the mind of a child. He's like a child.
Yes.
And we don't, want to scold him or anything. And he's hitting kids with sticks and misbehaving.
Yeah.
And they just treat him differently because they just figure he doesn't understand, which,
Yes.
is false. But I guess it just comes around to that. But yeah, that's definitely a tricky point. So.
And then around that, where we learn that essentially Noah is the one who was doing the animal killings and things like that.
Yeah.
Which just makes you kind of curious for two reasons. Number one, Noah loved the idea of the others. He would get very gleeful at the idea that they're coming, whatever. It makes you wonder if part of him wanted them to show up, if he was kind of trying to get that to happen. But also the elders were trying to figure out why these animals were showing up dead, because they were talking like, this can't be a coyote, this is happening, what's going on? So they knew that there was something strange happening, and that there's a reason why they were questioning everybody in the town and whatever. So there was a belief at one point, Walker talked about how he thought that one of the elders was killing the animals and leaving that.
Yeah.
But like, I don't understand how they couldn't have figured out sooner that someone else had figured out. Like, they clearly thought they were so smart. And I feel like all the elders were at the wedding, like and that's when a lot of the murder happened. And obviously I wasn't paying attention to see if Noah was there or whatever, but he must have not been. So why did they not kind of consider that possibility? And what would have been the incentive for an elder to do that anyway?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they just assumed that Noah would not do anything like that, and they're just like letting Noah do what the fuck he wants.
Right.
But yeah, no, that is a good point. When I first watched, I don't know why, but like when I remember this movie, I thought that Noah was consistently the monster. Like I thought I remember the elders were like, Noah, here is your job, put this costume on, and the monster the whole time.
Yeah, interesting.
And then like rewatching, I was like, oh, Okay, I don't know why I thought it was just no. I guess because it's such a memorable scene of him falling in the pit as the
Yeah.
monster. I just assumed that it was like he was all of the monsters, and
Yeah.
that was like his job. They just had him do that. It was definitely when it first came out, and I remember seeing it again. I
Mhm.
think I was probably like 14, 15
Yeah.
maybe.
Did you like it?
I did like it. I did like it. Um, every time I watched it, but this time I was
Mhm.
like I don't like it as much as I remembered.
Yeah. How
But
much
I
would you
don't
have
think
rated before watching it this time? What would you have rated it?
before watching it, I think I would have given it like uh maybe like a 4.
Mhm.
And then watching it this time, I'd probably give it like a 3,
Okay.
3 something. I don't think it's awful. I
Yeah.
don't think it's really that bad. I think people are very dramatic,
Yeah.
and the twist I thought was fine.
Yeah.
I liked it. I liked the idea. But
Well,
yeah.
it brings an interesting point to mind because you're someone who watches horror. So
Mhm.
as people, a lot of people I think were upset by the twist because they wanted something scary,
Yeah.
and it ends up being that it was all like a mindset and like kind of this warped sense of reality that was created.
Right.
And so it's not actually something scary. And for me, that made it higher rating because I was like, ooh, I don't have to be scared at night now. So for me, I gave it a 4.5.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So I was just like really pleased that there wasn't anything actually bad going on. I mean,
Yeah,
there were things where the elders weren't really good people
right.
and stuff like that, but for me that made it better. Now, the biggest reason for my taking off that half a point was one, the fact that the elders were kind of trash, and then
Yeah.
and then two, the whole Noah situation, how he died and how he stabbed and things like
Yeah.
that. I didn't love that. But I still gave it a pretty high rating because the romance scene really carried it, I think, for me too.
I was like, "Okay, I think Megan would like the romance in this because
Yeah.
I forgot there was, like, a romantic story,
Yeah.
and I think it's cute. I think it's really sweet. I would love to see more of it, but, I definitely think that carries, their relationship together really
Mhm.
kinda carries the movie, and I
Yes.
love the monster design. I think the creature designs are
Yeah, the
really
creature
cool.
is really cool looking. The fact that they were part of the counseling center, that was not like a plot twist for me. I feel like I did read in that really brief thing that that was considered
Yeah.
a plot twist. And for me, it was like, I didn't find that surprising. Clearly, if they're leaving
Yeah.
society, modern society, to start something new, they have
Yeah.
traumas that would make them like
I guess
leave.
the yeah, I guess the plot twist is that the group knew each other
Yeah.
and left together. But yeah, I for me the plot twist was that they left modern day society and the monsters weren't real. Like those are the two.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I agree. That's what I would have considered as well.
Yeah, this so Roger Ebert,
Right,
fam
right.
yeah,
Yes.
the critic.
The famous
He
critic, yeah.
has this on his most hated list, which I think it's
Whoa!
unfair. Some of the movies on there,
Whoa!
I took a look, and some of them are rough movies, and
Like
I'm like,
what?
"The Village doesn't deserve it." So, 2 Resident Evil movies, which I agree. Baby Geniuses,
Oh my god.
like, really bad stuff.
Yeah,
I
that's
think,
not like
Waterboy,
okay,
he
that's
had some he had some horror movies, and I forget which ones, but The Village, like, stood out to me. I'm like, "It's not that bad. It's
wow.
not." But I'll read what he wrote about it.
Okay.
He said, "To call it an anti-climax would be an insult not only to climaxes, but to prefixes. It's a crummy secret about one step up the ladder of narrative originality from It Was All a Dream. It's so witless, in fact, that when we do discover the secret, we want to rewind the film so we don't know the secret anymore." And I'm like, "Who hurt you?" I thought it was pretty good. I don't know.
Dude, that is so funny.
I think it's really unfair. And honestly, when you look up videos, I think a lot of people are like, "I like The Village. Like, why did it get so much
Yeah.
hate?" And it just was because of the twist. I don't know. I guess people at the time were like expecting something greater, and it
Yeah.
was shown as a horror movie. It was like the trailer showed a lot of monster stuff. So I think that kind of threw people off.
Yeah.
And I forget if this came after, I know it definitely came after Sixth Sense and The
Yeah.
Signs, but I don't know if there was something before it. But
Well, I did
at that
see
point,
that on that one thing that I looked up. Apparently, they were saying that there were just very high expectations
yeah,
of M. Night Shyamalan, and that
yeah,
this didn't reach that. And the author was kind of saying that the author of that
article.
article was
Mhm.
essentially saying they felt like it actually read better than it did back in 2019 than it did in 2004.
Okay, okay, yeah. There were high expectations, but I don't think it was that bad,
Yeah.
you know. So another issue too was, which I've heard, Shyamalan likes to, he writes, directs, and produces his movies,
Mhm.
but there are some stories that he kind of takes inspiration from other people and doesn't really admit to it. Um, and so this one is very similar to a young adult book called Running Out of Time. Have you
Mm,
ever heard of that?
no.
I've never. Apparently, a lot of people read it in like middle school, but the book is about a village where the people who live in it think they're living in 1800s when actually it's set in present day. The protagonist of the book also goes searching for medicine, so
Oh,
this is similar.
okay.
And the village elders take steps to make sure their children never learn the truth of their world. And then, so that's definitely similar, but I'm like, I don't think it's that creative
Right.
of a story. Plus, in the book, I'm going to spoil the book. It does sound interesting, but in the book, the protagonist kind of finds out that they're being filmed and that it's like a tourist attraction.
Oh,
But
kind of
then,
like what's that?
like the Truman Show.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then when she like goes to get medicine, she finds out that it's not a tourist attraction. It's actually a scientific experiment where they give people their disease to try and get them to like overcome the disease and become stronger and get stronger immunity.
Oh my
so
God.
that they could just breed stronger people, I guess.
What
And I was
is
like,
it?
whoa.
That's
Hold up.
very different.
Double twist.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then the author, Margaret Peterson Haddix, threatened to sue for plagiarism, but it
Yeah.
never really went through, which I feel like there are some similarities, but like I said, it's like,
It's not that much.
it's not. Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
not that,
it is tough. You can take inspiration from things without it being plagiarism, and I get that that's
yeah.
like a hot topic and a hot take. So
Right. So, but I heard that he kind of has done that a little bit, and but I know his latest movie, I think Knock at the Cabin, it was based off a book, and that's
okay.
like he credits the book for
Oh,
that.
okay. Yeah.
So, which is good. But yeah, so
I get now. I will say that now I understand the M. Night Shyamalan twist, Cards Against Humanity card, because it is a twist. He does do a twist. That was a twist.
yeah,
I was expecting a twist, but he twisted it further than I thought it would go.
it's a M Night twist. But I definitely want you to watch more of his movies.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely come back to M Night. And he loves Philly. All his movies, I think all of them are based in PA or Philly.
Oh,
So that's fun.
interesting. Good for him.
Yeah. He did he did an Apple TV show, and the house in the show I knew like exactly where it was.
Really?
Like, it's on Spruce Street. It's by the Schuylkill. I know, like it's my dream area. I know where it's at. In like the park. It was like kind of creepy. I was like, oh, like I've been to that park. It's like really weird. But
That's wild.
yeah, so some of his movies are like in the city, and there'll be like different scenes. and
Yeah.
trying to figure out like where
Oh
where
my
it's at. But
God. That's
it's pretty
funny.
cool. So I do like watching him for that, and
Yeah.
I like to see what he comes up with.
Yeah.
I think his most recent one was pretty decent. The Knock at the Cabin was pretty decent. So, and I like the TV show, which was newer.
Yeah.
He's not out of game yet. He had a rough time, but
Yeah, a period of some challenge.
I think
I do-
Avatar
Oh, yeah.
really fucked him.
People never, I don't think they'll ever let that one fully go. So,
No.
Yeah.
He had no reason to touch that
no,
franchise.
fair enough. I get the allure, I get
Yeah.
why he would want to have done that, but
It was just so different than what he's always done, like supernatural type
Yeah.
of, a little bit of horror type of movies, and that one was just like nothing like he's done.
Yeah.
So very weird.
or strange.
But-
Is that everything?
Yeah, that's pretty much everything. I did look more into M. Night himself. So Knight, the middle name, is not his real middle name.
Okay.
He made it up in college.
Oh my god.
And he was raised in Philly, but he was born in India, Pondicherry, India. So, and yeah, so he got very popular with The Sixth Sense in 1999, which was nominated for 6 Academy Awards, including
Wow.
Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Original Screenplay. And then, so his most popular movies are The Sixth Sense, Signs, Village. He also did The Happening, Lady in the Water, After Earth, The Visit. Any of these ring a bell? Unbreakable. Okay.
Unbreakable sounds
With
familiar.
Bruce Willis.
That one's a possible. I did see. Did he do Glass? I think I
He
saw
did
some-
do Glass, and
I
he did
might have-
Split.
Yeah, I might have seen those ones back when
You
they
saw
first-
you saw Glass without seeing Unbreakable?
Okay, so I probably saw Unbreakable and Glass, but
Okay.
I don't, or one or the other. I don't really remember
Okay.
though. I remember the guy, the bald dude in the wheelchair.
Okay.
But and then there was another character. Who else played in that one? Hold on.
So Bruce Willis plays it's pretty much a superhero thing. And
That's
he
what I
plays a man who's
thought.
like invincible. And then you have the guy who I always confuse with Mr. McGregor.
Yes. Okay, I
Um,
definitely have seen Glass.
Okay.
Yes. I'm looking at the thing, and it's familiar to me.
Okay. So that's like the third technically of like a trilogy.
Okay, I don't know which of them I've seen, but this was back in.
It's more recent.
That was more recent, but it's 2019. Well, okay, I don't know if I saw Glass. I definitely saw Unbreakable. I saw Unbreakable.
Okay. Okay. All right. So you saw
Because
one.
I remembered Samuel L. Jackson being in it, and I couldn't.
Yeah.
Once I saw his picture pop up. Okay.
Yeah. I liked Unbreakable. I think that's one of my favorites of his.
Yeah.
I
I
also like superheroes.
I think that's why we watched it, was the superhero element to it. But
Yeah.
I don't really remember it very well. I did go through a period where I watched a lot of thriller movies, and so those ones are the ones where you're likely to find out that I watched. But again, never saw The Village, and
Okay.
couldn't, any of his other big ones couldn't have pointed out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure I'd like to do at least 2 of them. There's 2
Okay.
fine, so
All right.
it'd be fun
Well,
for
I
you.
need to eventually watch The Sixth Sense and learn
Yeah.
about the dead people, you know?
Yeah. Well, that'd be a good one to recommend. So I got that on my list.
Okay, cool.
But anyway,
All
here's
right.
my movie.
The one I picked for you is I picked Love, Simon. So Love, Simon is a coming of age story of a young boy in high school in modern day where he realizes that he's gay and he is hiding it from his friends and family, but finds a way to anonymously talk about it online with someone who goes by the name Blue.
Okay.
And he starts to develop feelings for this person. And it's all about his sort of coming to terms with his identity. It's about him pursuing love and looking to find this person. And I watched it and really, really enjoyed it. I don't usually really like. I mean, I'm very hesitant with high school romances, and this one was one that I enjoyed.
Okay. I'm excited. It sounds sweet. So I hope
it is
it's
sweet.
Sweet,
Yeah.
like cotton candy.
Yeah.
So, do you have any thoughts on what the thread could be between these 2?
At this point in time, I was like, it could be the coming of age. It could be like, it could be a secret. Like maybe there's something about there being a secret, but that's all I've got right now. I'm gonna have to I'm gonna rewatch it and then see if that helps me figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll get it.
Yeah, I think so.
So you'll be fine.
I
Anyway.
think so. We'll see. I mean, I'm 1 for 1. I'm 1 for 2 right now. So
1 for 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first one I did for you was very tricky. That one was
yeah, you were
rough,
mean.
So
Thanks.
I couldn't think of anything else. I'm sorry. Okay. So you all can follow us and reach out to us on Instagram. How do you watch this? TikTok. How do you watch? Or email. How do you watch this at gmail.com?
Yep.
And we'll see you next week for our romance episode.
Yeah.